Yo, what's up? My name is Devin Jones. Thank you for taking the time to listen to another episode of the Neighborhood Heroes podcast. I'm honored to have the co-host,
Gloria Craig.
We have a very good episode for you today. We have the director of the Phe'Be Foundation, Sharron Murphy Williams. So honored to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. This conversation that we're going to have today, one of the things that I hope that everyone takes from it is the importance of your money, the importance of proper planning and preparation. We have a very special guest because for over 20 years, the Phe'Be Foundation and Sharron Murphy Williams have been working in the community to empower people, to help people learn about the importance of financial literacy. And so it's an honor to have you today to talk about these topics and to have an honest and free-flowing conversation about these topics that people don't normally have access to. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sure. So we're going to jump right in. And y'all know that our first question usually has to do with, we want to know who we talking to. We want to know where they came from. We want to know what's going on and how they got to how did they get to where they got to, right? So we got another Cleveland native. We love to hear from the Cleveland residents. We want to know what's going on. So the first question is, can you just tell us a little bit about where you come from, your upbringing, and how that has impacted your work today, and how it has impacted you?
I will say, yes, I am a Cleveland native. I grew up off of the streets of 143rd and Kane, right off of Miles. I'm a product of the Cleveland Public Schools. Love it. I've traveled, but I've always come home because Cleveland, it's just something about Cleveland that just, it fits me. I think I have some treasures and some tools that I can, if I'm going to sew anywhere, I'm going to sew at home. And so that is one of the reasons why, being a Cleveland native, I am so vested in the work that I do. But I had a praying grandmother too. So when you ask how, where did I come from, I remember my grandmother had calloused knees. And that was for always being on her knees praying for us. And I watched my grandmother sow faith and honor and God in my life. First, foremost, if anyone ever asked me, Phe'Be, where'd you get that name? The Phe'Be Foundation was named out of Romans 16:1. She was a businesswoman in the Bible. Now, we all know there are a lot of women talked about in the Bible, but there were only 53 named, called by name, and Phe'Be was one of them. She was a servant. I find that is one of the things, though I'm a leader, I serve in my leadership. I mean, I intentionally say, what now, what next? So growing up in Cleveland, I'm an Eagle. I'm out of Kennedy. I never left, even in my higher education, I never left Ohio. So I've always sown my wealth where I live. That's me.
Wow. That is so beautiful. It's a lot there. It's a lot there.
Well, so from what I hear, Cleveland has been a consistent part, but that part about prayer and faith. I remember my mother used to tell me about her grandmother, and her grandmother, she had a hole in her leg. She developed a condition in her leg, and she would always praise God. It was always a moment where she would. And so I really appreciate you talking about that upbringing and how that is a part of you. People often don't want to talk about the spiritual aspects, and I think it's amazing for us to hear that.
Yes.
So some context to add, though. When you say with Phe'Be Foundation, where did the roots of, where did financial literacy come from? Where did that passion of sowing those tenets into our community members come from?
I would say when I was maybe 23, considering I'm only 25. Okay. When I was 23, I had the opportunity to work for a company called Dunn and Bradstreet. And I was young at this, and I didn't really know. I had just left a company where I was their collections manager. And I got that part. It was like, okay, because they tried me at customer service. And that just wasn't my niche. It's because I don't believe a customer is always right, but I believe a customer should always be heard. And so I would listen, but sometimes you have to get people to understand that where they were thinking is not the thought, you know. And so just having the opportunity to sit around wealth being built on paper. Because Dunn and Bradstreet is the guru of credit. They are the Fortune 500 thermometers of business, how well a business is doing. We as consumers, we have these 3 credit reports called TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Well, I watched wealth being built way, 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 way above my pay grade and or my thoughts. But while I was there, I realized that no one that was reaping the benefits of my work looked like me. And so what I also realized is financial literacy was not a conversation in our households. We were taught to be kids, stay in kids' place. Our parents took care of all that they needed to. Well, that was good, but it was a setup for us in our next steps. And so I remember, I have 2 last names, not because I can't pick one, but I went through a divorce. But I have 2 beautiful daughters out of that marriage, right? But I had to figure out, how do I sustain, because my ex-husband and I had a pretty decent income. We were like $87,000 ballers. We were 20-something years old. You can tell us anything. Well, when you give up half that income and you lose half that stability, how do you fare? And I remember asking for a raise, and my boss told me, you know, got some good news for you. We can't give you a raise, but your job is not in jeopardy because you're so good at what you're doing. Now, for me, I didn't take that as a compliment. I said, so how I fare doesn't matter when I leave here. And so I had to dig in, and I went through all of the opportunities Dunn and Bradstreet put before me. I'm a licensed credit strategist because of Dunn and Bradstreet. I'm a partner with Dunn and Bradstreet even to this date. But I took that knowledge, and in I'm really dating myself, 1997, I opened my own practice. And that's where I set up shop, and it's resolved. But what I realized was everyone that needed to know what I knew couldn't afford me. And so I said, Lord, if I could find one way to teach a whole lot of people what I do for one client at a time, and Phe'Be was birthed.
Wow.
Jinx, you owe me a soda. You were supposed to laugh. No, but anyways, okay. So it wasn't enough, Debbie. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, okay. So you talked a lot of, you kind of mentioned like your education and the things that you've kind of been able to pull in and how it's giving you the ability to be able to start your organization. Can you talk a little bit about like the beginning of your education path? What did that look like? Were you planning to go to college and, you know, things of that nature?
What did my education look like? That's a really good question because it was interesting. I was faced with, I started school. In my 3rd year, I'm now pregnant. And I have to make a decision. What do you do? And I am always a what now, what next kind of girl. You can't stump me. Now, you can throw some roadblocks and I get them.
But I'm going to figure it out.
But hold on, wait a minute. What are we doing? And so one of the things I will say about my education was I had a lot of ladders lowered for me. I had doors open that I had to qualify once I got in there. I'm a quick study. Again, you're not going to stump me long. I have a saying, I can't say what you won't do, but I can say what you won't do again. And so when I was faced there, it was, what do you do? And so I had the opportunity to study at Brown University for my license as a credit strategist. I had the opportunity to go to Cleveland State and study for my financial matters that I needed to put up under here. But I'll tell you what my greatest education was, the library. And then the next greatest education was to be comfortable enough in my skin to surround myself with people who knew what I didn't know. And so education, I do believe, is critical. Degreed up is critical, but it's not always necessary.
That's right.
It's a good thing, but it's not always necessary. And so I stand here saying, I got some real strong certificates, but I've got a track record that says I'm second to none without that master's, without that PhD. And so my passion of education, I've been in the Cleveland Public Schools for 20 years, teaching our kids. what you doing? And your path might not look like how people map out.
That's right.
In my practice, I've closed over $500 million in mortgages. I've served as second national vice president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. I am a past president of the Rotary Club of Cleveland East. I'm a second generation Rotarian. I've been featured in Essence. You can find me on a coffee table in Jet. People say, how did you get there? It wasn't on purpose. I was in my purpose, and somebody said, let me tell somebody. And I said, wow, you really gonna tell somebody? And they're like, it's worth telling. My greater education is do the work for not the recognition. But this year, 2021, 2022, and going forward, it's our season because of the seeds that have been planted. In me, in the foundation, in this community, we've impacted over 50,000 households, whether it is our kids, or whether it is our seniors. We just do the work.
That's so dope.
Is that dope?
It's super dope.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, one of the things, one of our past guests, he spoke about the importance of creating relationships, maintaining those relationships. So, two things that I heard from your answer, and let me be clear, let me be frank with our guests. I'm a part of the advisory council at the Phe'Be Foundation, and they are a client for us as for our consulting business called Crown Connections. And so one of the things that I would always ask our guests in general and you, because you just spoke about it so evidently about hard work, but also relationships. Can you touch on that importance and how that links to financial literacy, how that links to building stronger communities, and
I would say relationships are everything.
That's right.
I have relationships that I keep. I have relationships that I'm comfortable enough to get rid of. I'm an assessor. When we leave this conversation, I'm going to reflect back on this conversation. What did I say? What happened? And how did they make me feel while I was saying it? And one of the things I believe about a relationship is people don't care what you know. They care how you make them feel. And so in my relationships, I'll date myself. I'm getting ready to have a birthday.
Okay.
And I have a 33-year-old. And I didn't have a child in my teens, so I'm not gonna tell you, I'm over 33. And I still have relationships that date back. But let's talk about business, finance, how things work. People do things for people they know. So if we're ever trying to get somewhere, there's no man that's an island. So what we wanna do is, who do we need to know and why? People say, can I have your business card? And the first question I ask is, what are we gonna talk about? Because I want to know what so that I can be prepared and or say I'm not that conversation. But relationships say, if Devin, who I had the opportunity to meet at, because I'm a board member for the United Black Fund, and Devin had to interview me. There was something about this young man that was on the other side of this screen that I called him later. And I have not stopped calling Devin because he brings this youth of wisdom to the table, just as the rest of my advisory board members. But the relationship that has been built is a new one. But I'm lowering the ladder of relationships that I've had in my Rolodex, dating myself again, in my Rolodex that I'll open. Hey, Devin, hey, check this out. Because instead of you having to create a new relationship, why don't I introduce you to one that I have a relationship with? Because people tend to, if they're good for you, they could possibly be good for me. Build the relationships, keep them honest. Relationships are not always yes, ma'am.
And always pretty.
And they're not always pretty. But relationships should always stand.
Yeah. For sure. And I hear a couple, like the themes I'm hearing is, faith and, it seems like you have really good discernment.
I do.
Yeah, you're able to, and for our listeners, I don't want to even have y'all go look nothing up. What I mean is she's able to kind of judge the energy or feel the energy and be able to know that's not for me or this is for me. And so my question is for, young people who may not have that discernment or be able to catch that energy right away. How were you able to build your discernment, I guess?
That grandmother.
Okay.
And then my mother. And then all my life, I've grown up in the church. And before I got on this set, I got on my knees.
Absolutely.
I'm going to always usher in what's greater than me. Yeah. Young people, check out. Do some stock in your friends. Be careful of that title, too. Don't give that title away.
That's right.
Everybody cannot be your friend. Some people are just people I know.
Yeah.
You are associate, you're a classmate, you're a kid on the block with me. Giving away that title, friendship, is a dangerous game we play. So reel that back in. Assess what your relationships look like and what they bring to your table.
That's right.
What's on the table when it's all set? And don't be afraid to ask the guests to leave. And when they don't you be afraid to leave. Young people, get you some older people around you. Sit around some wisdom.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Because no matter what you know, somebody knows just a little bit more.
That's right.
And it's okay to learn the lesson through somebody else than having to live it yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I think that's a great segue to this question. I always wanted to ask you about and have an answer that people can hear, because it's often that people don't conceptualize it this way, but you speak of this intergenerational connection. And for young people to reach up, and for older people or the older generations to reach down. And so could you speak to how that connects to financial literacy, how that may connect to us taking that next step as a community, as a people, as a country, as a society?
Yes. Okay, that's like my favorite topic.
Oh yeah, I know.
First of all, young people. I am so vested in young people that they exhaust me. And I tell them, you guys exhaust me, but you don't get to wear me out. What are we doing next? I believe that when it comes to our young people and our parents and our grandparents, there's a disconnect that needs to be reconnected. Our children, when the money isn't right, I find our kids are trying to play adults. You know, they talk about this great, what they call it, the great resignation, where everyone since COVID, there's been this shift in how we go to work. Do we go to work? We're operating on COVID budgets like that's our real money. Pause back and go to 2019 and tell me what your budget was. That's more realistic than what we are playing with now, as if we have resources. We don't have any money. We're coming up on a financial pandemic. Our young people, we've been in the schools for 20 years. We're gonna stay in there as long as we can, because our young people need to know that money, a country built on capitalism that doesn't teach capital, is setting you and I up, because we have to then carry that financial weight. Understanding, teaching kids how to secure the bag, and that the price of the bag has gone up. But then also catching our parents and just shoring them up. Single moms, we have a program called Head Home, geared for single head of household women. The Providers Program that addresses our fathers. This conversation about money has got to be had. And being broke, not poor. Stop saying poor.
That's
Broke
right.
is something we can fix.
That's right.
Poor is a mental state, and you wearing us thin with that. Let's stop saying I'm poor and let's say I'm broke, and let's fix it, because there is a repair to it. You can fix your financial situation. It is no such situation that's so bad. Our seniors, we owe them more than we're giving them. They're leaving properties that we lose. How we lose Big Ma's house? She had that house all of our lives, and then we get it because she's gone on and we lose it. And so shoring up this whole generational wealth, Phe'Be is about the family. Whether it is a baby, teaching moms how to invest in that infant early, whether it is young people, opening up bank accounts. Stop being unbankable. Be banked. You know, what's the bank? That's your money. And stop pretending it's okay not to have. That hence goes with who we run with. If my friend has more money than me, They need to stop paying for me. And if I don't have enough to go, I need to stop going.
That's right.
It's called discipline. And that's something that we don't want, is to pause for the discipline. But if you just pause for a minute, if you were to ever get in a Phe'Be Foundation class and just pause for the 4 weeks of our class, we've yet, I would say our statistics are maybe 98% of anyone that has gone through our class move from where they were. Now, do they get where they're going? I can't always gauge that, but can I say they moved from where they were? I can assure my license and my name on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
period. Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it me that asked the question? I can't remember.
I think it was me.
Okay.
Or, I mean, I don't know. I got one, though. So, my question is, like, how do you, in your classes, and, you know, how do you combat, I guess what I would call it is the generational belief that, like, I'm stuck. I'm a victim and they owe me.
Oh, my.
Give me what you owe me versus you are in control and you can do this. You can change this regardless of what has been created to keep you from moving forward.
Are we talking about the zip code myth? Are we talking about the poverty generational myth that they tell us this is where you came from, so this is where you'll be?
Yeah.
I don't let people define me. And we need to stop letting people define me. So how do we get young people to stop letting people define them? I have these, being in the schools all the years I've been there, I have students that have moved on to Stanford University, Columbia University, to the military, to the juvenile detention center. Let's keep it all the way 100. And speaking of the juvenile detention center, I had this program called Street Pharmacists, right? Hence. And it was teaching them that at the end of the day, you are that entrepreneur, that you are that boss.
Yeah.
You just got the wrong team. You got the wrong products. You're doing stuff. You're doing too much. And so that same mentality, let's get those same soldiers around the boardroom. Let's talk about some potential investments. Why aren't we investing in Snapchat? Why aren't we investing in or bringing our monies together that we've made? Stop making it. You want to get knocked making it. Stop. That's made. But then we also have a population and a generation of youth that right now feel a little bit of hopelessness.
Yeah.
They're looking around going, that doesn't look like that's for me. That doesn't look like that's for me. Well, when I was growing up, it didn't look like this. But when I was growing up, what looked bad. It looked bad to us also. And it's all in the fight in you. Stop answering to everything people call you.
That's right.
I have a name, and I determine what I turn around to. I determine what you get to say.
Absolutely.
And so our young people have to also be careful what they listen to. All information on the internet isn't accurate. This financial, start investing. I had a young lady say, I want to start investing. I said, how much you have to lose? She said, I don't have nothing to lose. I said, then you don't understand the game, because the only rule to the game is know the rules. The rule of investment means there's a possibility you lose. Can you do that? She said, well, no. I said, well, how about we save? Let's work on that. And meeting young people where they are. Or I can throw on some Timbs and we can go all the way in on our, we securing the bag, we giving it away, what we doing? We stacking, we got bands, what we doing? Or can we get all the way to the financial literacy, which is a convoluted word. We talk about financial literacy, young people don't understand that. Let's talk about securing the bag. We get that.
Yeah.
We get that.
Absolutely.
Before we started the interview, I said the conversation is going to flow perfectly, and this is another example of that. This leads me to my question. Like I said, I'm a part of the organization, and I would like to say I am as passionate about changing the outcomes of everyone that we hope to impact as I am about changing my own outcomes. And so I think this is a great time to talk about what we got coming. What are we doing? What does that look like? How do people reach out to us? How do people get involved? Things of that nature. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me go back and say Devin is a valuable asset to our advisory council. But when you said, how do I get young people? One of the things when I asked and formed my advisory council, I said, but you have to sit with me for a one-on-one financial literacy consultation. Let me see your credit report. Let me see your budget. Never for judgment. But then I could say, okay, check this out. This is what I need you to do. This is how you are going to move this needle. This is how we're going to get this score up. This is how, when you go get this job you're going for, congratulations, that now you know how to handle that money. I am one, I'm going to put my hands on you. My team is going to put their hands on you. No one exits the Phe'Be Foundation without me putting my hands on them. From a sense that this is a very no judgment zone. Planet Fitness has nothing on us.
Okay.
We are a no judgment zone because my past qualifies my present, and I'm blessed I don't look like where I've always been, you know, and so sometimes I'm not pretentious. I understand it's been hard. I've been a single mom. You know, I've opened up a refrigerator and the light didn't come on. It wasn't because the bulb had burned out. It was my lights were turned off. So do I understand it? But that's why I also come from an educational position of no excuses. We all have reasons, no excuses. Been there, done that. So give me something else. What are we doing? So Phe'Be, in 2022, we are kicking off our All Things Money class. It's called ATM, because that's where everybody visits. But I want them to visit the All Things Money about themselves. Our classes, as long as the numbers stay down, we are looking to launch them in February. You can go to our website. We will have where you can register for classes. We have a new program that's coming up called Boys to Men with Money. We are taking an intentional vested interest because we got Black girls magic going. But I want to see our kings rise up too. There's a place for them, and financially, we need them. We need them in that space. And we also have our Living the Legacy program for our seniors. We work with the Department of Aging. I sit on that board. And so resources, access, we have it. And the one thing we do is we share it. And the best thing about Phe'Be is we have nothing to sell. We qualify the consumer to be everyone else's consumer. We have nothing to consume but education. And so, yes, we help people with mortgages. We have amazing partners. Can I say my partners?
Yes.
We have amazing partners, like St. Luke's Foundation got behind our programs, Fifth Third Foundation, Fifth Third Bank. We have one organization that I really look forward to forging in 2022 is because they have a vested interest in the BIPOC community, which is the Black, Indigenous, people of color. You don't hear people talk about that. Phe'Be has its ear and its eye to the ground. We hear in the communities what's needed, and we implement what's needed. And so people say, what does Phe'Be do? What's the community need? If it's around financial education, it's around credit, it's around business, workforce development. If it's around foreclosure prevention, if it's around scams, if it's around ... if money touches it. And the one thing unique about life is, as the Bible says, money answers all matters. It's the love of money that gets us in trouble, but money answers all matters. Getting our money right gets our matters right, because money matters.
Wow. I know that's right. Wondering how much time we got left before.
We have about 10 minutes, 10 15.
Okay, I was feeling that 10-minute thing, but I didn't hear you say it yet. So, okay.
Am I going too long?
Nope, you're good. I just didn't want to get into another thing and
We
then
can go for hours.
somebody be like,
Yeah, we could.
10 minutes. So the next question I was thinking about is, so you mentioned prayer. You mentioned, you know, really taking that time, being still. In moments where, you know, everything becomes, it's a lot. You feeling like burnout. You feeling like, oh my goodness. Along with prayer, you know, what keeps you going? What are your drives? What are the things that, you know, that keep you just getting up and keep you pushing?
That's a good question. I can answer better what kept me from stopping.
Okay, yeah.
I got tired. I got burned out. And then I lost my sister, who was my oldest sister, 46 years best friend sister, you know, and then it's gone. And I never knew what depression was. I was never clinically diagnosed depressed, but I was stuck. I was getting up. I thought I was making progress, but nothing was really happening. And I told 5 people outside my house, I'm gonna shut the Phe'Be Foundation down. I can't keep hoping other people find what I find so desperately necessary to provide. Keep in mind, Phoebe's a nonprofit, so we operate on funding. And we were getting enough funds, and then I started spending my funds because the need didn't go away because the funds weren't there, right? And it got so overwhelming, and the one thing that I remember that my sister used to always say is, you know you're my baby, right? You know you're my girl. I am so proud of you, and what you're doing, I don't see anybody else doing the way you do it. And so when I said, I think I'm going to stop, my sister was a singer. There was a song came on. And I make that reference like easy like Sunday morning. And I said, come on, Sharron, this is easy like Sunday morning. This is your gift. This is what you do. So you tired. It's some folks that need to know what you know, because without it, you being tired could be their demise. And so second wind I got. And then COVID caused me to pause, get still enough to focus on what now, what next. And today I say we've got a 5-year plan of programs of what now, what next. There isn't a community or a population we want to miss, but there are some intentional ones we won't miss. And so I would say, knowing that if my sister were here, she would have said, girl, quit playing.
Yeah.
And so I quit playing, and I went to work.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
You know, one of our goals for Neighborhood Heroes was to make sure that we kept that connection to people, and that our content meet them where they are, because we're there. You know, it's like, it's really hard to act as if we don't look like you. It's really hard to act as if we ain't been through the same struggles that you've been through. And so we acknowledge that. But like you had said earlier, you know, there is no excuses. You have a support system. Like we said, Neighborhood Heroes, I know for a fact the Phe'Be Foundation, the Cleveland Observer, all these different places, these are things you can call for the certain issues that you have. And I really appreciate you being able to speak about this and just offer the little hints of knowledge. But y'all have to come. This it doesn't stop here. This interview doesn't stop here. I'm glad we got you to be able to get introduction to Sharron and the Phe'Be Foundation. But please go to the website, phebefoundation.org, because this is the opportunity. This is going to be in-person and virtual programming. So we're trying to reach and touch you and change your outcomes, because it's about you. This isn't, we're here talking about ways that where we came from, what we've been through, but it's about you.
It's about you.
Absolutely.
And so thank you so much, Sharron.
Thank you.
In closing, I have a question that I like to ask everybody, or Gloria, whoever closes, about calls to action. And, you know, you've consistently said what now, what next. You probably answered this question more and more, but repetition is best. As we close out, what are some calls to action those people at home? What would be some things that you would suggest them do right now? And I remember one of the first things that she told me was open your mail.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can't, this don't end. You know, some people want to neglect the things that bring them anxiety, but we have to address them. We have to acknowledge them, whether it be in physical or reality or conceptual things. So what would be some call to actions that you may have?
I have to echo that. You have to open your mail. That's how drama comes in our house. Open your mail and answer your phone. Every number you don't know is not scam, or what is that? The scam numbers.
Yeah, right.
These are people you owe money to. And the problem with us, and the reason why I say the call to actions is open your mail and answer your phone. Because creditors, collectors, they come by way of those two places first. If you don't address them, they then hit your credit report. That remains on your credit report for 7 years minimally. I'll go into it when you come to our class. It can impact you up to 21 years. I'll tell you how. The next call to action is take your debit cards out of your wallets. Make one stop to the bank. Put some money in your pocket, and when it's gone, you stop. Because right now, all of us, many of us, let me not be so broad in my statement, we carry all of our money with us everywhere we go. And they say, no, I don't. And I say, well, open up your wallet. If it's your bank cards, it is all the money that we have. Minimize those. Take your bank cards out of your wallet. Try it for 30 days. Do cash. Cash and carry. See what you could do with that. Answer the phone. Go ahead and find out who you owe. Get a pen and a piece of paper. And if I may, if you answer the phone, because I am a collector, let me tell you, stay in control of the conversation. The collector, if they call you by your first name, correct them and introduce yourself by last. Who's referred to by last name is who's in control of the conversation. If they ask you for something that you are not positioned to do, say, you know, could I have your phone number? And they're going to go into a spiel because they're on this spiel that they have to stick with. Pause them. Slow the conversation down. Ask for phone number. May I have your last name? Get their last name. Say, I'll call you back because right now I don't have an answer. What's important is that you call them back. But the fact that you answered kept you from avoiding. You avoid collectors, we have a lot of power. We can garnish wages. We can pull money from your banks, and you don't even know it. We don't need your permission. We just need the debt to be verified. So those things will help us. And going to our website at phebefoundation.org, registering for our classes. They will be up in January, and we hope to see you throughout the year.
Thank you for that so much. In closing, y'all know we here, we always here, we gonna be here. Our Neighborhood Heroes podcast. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Ms. Sharron Murphy Williams, for joining us.
Thank you.
You're important. You matter, and we want you to know that, and we're giving you the tools. So get up and go do something. Peace.